Hey folks, this is Kalani. It seems as though Blizzard isn't quite done with Warlords just yet. We have some information about a new patch headed to the PTR very soon, and hopefully to the live servers not long after. There's some nice additions to the weekly bonus events, 2 mounts, neither of which are being added to the cash store, which makes me one happy chappy, and a bunch of item level tweaks which seem to make raiding slightly obsolete. Let's have a look at the details. Time walking has been expanded upon quite heavily recently. We first had the welcome addition of badges, so we can happily collect a currency again and work towards a few shiny things. Now we're getting even more dungeons and a new weekly event to explore even more dungeons from WoW's glory days. The Cataclysm time walking event will include Grimbatol, Stonecore, the Lost City of the Tolvir, Vortex Pinnacle, Throne at the Tides, and Entine, so more or less every dungeon. We're only missing a few off that list, and 2 would be from the Dragon Soul dungeons. Not too surprising, because Cataclysm didn't really have all that many to begin with. If the next piece of info is anything to go by, they won't be too far behind though, because Pit of Sauron is being added to the Wrath time walking event, and Magister's Terrace is being thrown into the Burning Crusade mix, so new dungeons all around. This brings time walking events up to 3, meaning we may see them a little more often or a little less often depending on how Blizzard wants to play things. There's also going to be new bonus events tied to a new currency we'll touch on later, so things might get a little crowded on the bonus event front. We'll have to see what happens. If new dungeons aren't a good enough reason to pull you back into these events, a new mount has been added which can drop from any and all time walking dungeon bosses. The Infinite Dragon Flight will finally be ours to mount. This is one that a lot of people have been asking for a very long time, and it's not in the cash store. Huzzah! There's hope! So, I mentioned a new currency. It's an old new currency. It's time to welcome back Valor points. This one seems to be a really strange move. No one really cared about Valor points being removed all that much. People really cared about Justice points. But hey, whatever, let's see what they have in store for Valor. It's item level upgrades on your gear, which again, people didn't really care too much to see go. After our frog farming, it was kind of relaxing not having to work to unlock an item's potential, and with random sockets and Warforged bonuses on items, I can see people spending a lot more time grinding Valor to upgrade a whole plethora of items compared to Mists of Pandaria. It seems to be an odd move, but a lot of this patch seems to be about power creep and giving us, as players, a whole bunch of ways to increase our item level. More on that later. How are we going to collect these new, shiny Valor points? Heroic and Mythic Dungeons. They're putting the carrot back into Heroic Dungeons and making Mythic Dungeons oh so super shiny. Hopefully, Heroic Dungeons won't go too far down the drain, with people rushing ahead and booting people left, right and centre for taking a little too long or being new to max level. You'll also be able to collect a nice Valor award from the first run of Raid Finder Wings each week. This resurrection of Valor seems to have one purpose: to drive players into Heroic and Mythic Dungeons and help carry Raid Finder groups. The main reason folks haven't run Heroic Dungeons this expansion is lack of incentive. Let's see if a few extra item levels via Valor is good enough to drag everyone back. As a note, your Valor upgrades will be for 5 item levels each upgrade, and you can upgrade each item a maximum of twice. So 10 item levels on all of your gear from Valor. Hooray! Even if Heroic Dungeons don't see a huge resurgence, Mythic Dungeons certainly will. In an effort to help people gear up, and apparently skip Heroic Hellfire Citadel and part of Mythic Hellfire Citadel, Mythic Dungeons will have the chance to drop item level 725 gear. That's the little bonus proc that many of you should have seen already. It's now going to give you 725 gear. That's kind of ridiculous and really baffling, but Blizzard definitely wants us to have better gear. Baleful gear can now bonus proc to 695. There's no information about whether the Apex's crystal upgrade has changed any. We'll have to see on the PTR, so you may just be able to skip the upgrade, or the upgrade might take Baleful gear above 700. Either way, Mythic Dungeons can't be seeing enough love outside of the bonus events because Blizzard is also adding in a new trinket. An heirloom trinket which will scale to level 110, so pretty much everybody is going to be after it. There seems to be a definite pattern here. Throwing carrots into every area of Warlords that isn't actively being stampeded through, and hope players take the bait. Oh, I'm sure they will, but it's going to be interesting to see the item level requirements for a lot of these Mythic Dungeon groups, considering the gear that drops can be 725, and everyone is able to get an extra 10 item levels on top of their gear just by running Heroic Dungeons and getting Valor. Let's hope people will be at least a little fair. If you were wondering about the trinket, we don't seem to have any information as of yet. Now at this point you may be wondering, why the hell are we getting so much gear outside of raiding? It may just be because Hellfire Citadel in Mythic difficulty is opening up to the cross-realm scene. That's right, we're going to be able to get and put together Mythic Hellfire Citadel raid groups via the group finder. Oh, it's going to be a glorious few weeks of wiping on Hellfire Assault. But even with Mythic raiding coming to the pug scene, what drive do people have to actually bash their heads against that Mythic wall? Now, a lot of Mythic raiding guilds, which have been struggling to get 20 people reliably, can now pick people up from any server at any time through the group finder tool. This helps them a bunch, but I wonder who will be available to pick up. You can get gear which is better than the first few bosses in Mythic raiding from Mythic Dungeons, and then you can upgrade it to be on par with Archimonde Mythic loot anyway. Now of course you'd be able to upgrade Archimonde Mythic loot further, but the point still stands. You can get some of the best gear in the game from Mythic Dungeons, as opposed to Mythic raiding. I'm really interested to see how things pan out. I'll definitely be poking into Mythic Hellfire again with pugs, if for nothing else but to see some of the fights and grab a few more Mythic achievements. I guess it's people like me who those guilds will be picking up. Hopefully there'll be a whole bunch of people and we can have entire pug groups into Mythic. It'll be interesting to see if they change the lockout and raid ID system to work with this at all, but probably not. Now, I doubt pugs will see Mythic Archimondes this expansion, but, you know, there's always room for a little surprise. Now, speaking of surprises, does anyone remember that moose mount? Turns out the Grove Warden mount isn't going to be in the cash store after all. Anyone who defeats Archimonde on Heroic difficulty or higher will be able to loot a quest item which takes you to Moonglade. There you will learn a little bit about what is going to happen in Legion to Azeroth and get the mount as a reward for your efforts. I find it a little disappointing. It seems to be just a handing quest, but at least it's an interesting way to drive the story forward, give us a little bit of background knowledge about what the Legion may be planning, and, you know, get a reward. And hey, another awesome mount which isn't in the cash store. We're moving forward, folks. Best start linking those AOTC achievements. To round things out and tie things up, we're also getting a new arena season. Makes a lot of sense when the PvE folks will be running around in decked out gear, can't have PvP gear falling behind. You'll gain access to Warmonger's Aspirants, Combatant and Gladiator gear, which is 715, 730 and 740 item levels respectively. So that's everything from this unexpected patch. It seems we're not getting a filler raid just yet to tie us over to Legion, just a few extra things to get us back into Heroic Dungeons and to get us grinding Mythic Dungeons like never before. I love that they're still expanding on these areas of the game to give us a reason to log in every day, but I wonder if us getting another patch means Legion is further away than we already thought. I sure as hell hope not. Bring on the Burning Legion. Remember that BlizzCon is only a few weeks away, and I'm sure we'll be able to get a solid timeline on when to expect what from the devs there. But that's it for this patch and this video. If you have any questions, queries or theories, leave them in the comment section below and we can all speculate just how late Legion will release. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always, I will see you next time.